Hey, it's Chef Evelyn, and welcome back to another video. And today I want to have a conversation about attracting high-end clients and kind of deterring cheap clients or clients with low budgets, right? Because one of the biggest complaints that I hear in the chefpreneurship, culinary entrepreneurship, freelance chef community world, questions that I get on my YouTube channel, on social media, in my DMs from my clients is like, how do I attract high-end clients and how do I avoid or deter clients that are cheap or maybe don't have the budget to afford my services, right? And here's something I want to say. It's like, the reason why this question comes up a lot, I totally get it. I remember when I was having this experience is because, you're offering your products or services, right? And you know that you're doing a great job. You know that you're an amazing chef. You know that your food is amazing. You know that you treat your clients well. But you often run into people who want the sun, the moon, and the stars. They've got this champagne taste on tap water budgets. And maybe they reach out to you and you go through all of the steps for them to potentially work with you. You create a custom menu or you set a proposal or however it is that you handle business. And they're like, oh yeah, they're ready to go. And then the moment they see what the investment is going to be or they see the invoice, it's like crickets. They ghost you and you never hear from them again. Or sometimes it's like, people do all this back and forth and they ask you a ton of questions and, they're kind of like wasting your time because they're not really serious. They're tire kickers. And then when they see your rates or you tell them what, they are going to have to spend to be able to enjoy your services, and maybe they kind of gawk at you and tell you that your services are too expensive. Or maybe they try to negotiate with you as if your prices are negotiable. Or maybe they try to, go through, the proposal that you send and be like, well, how much would it be if you took this off? And how much would it be if we downgraded this? And how much would it be if we eliminated this? And how much would it be if I got somebody else to do it? Or how much would it be if I bought the groceries myself? Or how much, like all these things. And it's like, we understand that everybody wants to have an amazing event, culinary experience, whatever it is that you're doing, right? Cooking class, you name it. And at the same time, we deserve to be compensated what we're worth for our products and services. And so that doesn't make that potential client or customer bad. It just means that they aren't a good fit for what we do, right? I know what you really want, which is what I wanted, was you want the kind of clients who you don't have to go and over explain why you charge what you charge. You want the clients who are like, this is what I want. And they're like, tell me how much it is. You tell them how much it is. They're like, yep, great, got it. And then they sign the contract, they pay the invoice, and you're off to the races, right? But these clients where you have to go back and forth, and oftentimes to end up not even having a client at all, and you've spent all this time and energy on it, it's frustrating, right? And I know that sometimes we've tried to, okay, I'm just going to increase my prices, and the price is the price, but then we end up losing clients and it doesn't go over well, or, business slows down because people are like, whoa, your prices are way too high, right? Or, maybe you've tried like really explaining to people in detail, like all what goes into what you do, the ingredients, the cost of food, there's inflation, the cost of living, staff, your time, the travel. Maybe you've tried to, overcompensate by explaining in detail every little nuanced thing that goes into your race to try to justify to them or to help them understand that this is why it costs what it costs, right? Or maybe you've tried to go into like, here's what's all in the experience, and here's my background and my training and my, I did this apprenticeship and worked here and worked for this person and I've had this client and that client, right? And it's like, no matter what you do, it doesn't really seem to land with those clients, okay? And so, you get to the point where you're just like, okay, is this just our industry? Like, is this just the nature of what we do? But then you look over and you see somebody else seems like they're charging your premium prices or higher prices or for their chef services, and you're like, and I don't understand what the difference is, and their food is not any better than yours, right? And so it's just like, okay, well, what exactly is going on here? I mean, sometimes it may even be where you feel like, if you're being honest with yourself, that maybe their stuff isn't even as good as yours. And it seems like they are easily charging these premium prices and people are paying it. And it's just like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm over here, offering the sun, the moon, and the stars, and people are like trying to nickel and dime me to death. And this person over here is not even half as good or professional as you are. And it seems like people are just throwing money at that person, right? So it can be very frustrating to know that you do good quality work, know that you offer, a quality product or service, and feel like you're constantly have to defend what you charge or why you charge it. And so maybe sometimes you've acquiesced and decided, you know what, I'm just going to lower my prices because I just don't want to deal with it. And I just don't want the headache. Or you haven't really been able to figure out how to transition and not get those people who are going to try to negotiate you all the time or nitpick your invoices or ghost you and waste your time and all that kind of stuff, right? So the thing is, the question people ask me is like, how can I attract these high-end clients? Where are they? Like, it's like, if I could just figure out where these high-end clients are, I could go there, right? And I wouldn't have to worry about dealing with people with, lower budgets, right? And it's like, again, not that people with lower budgets are bad people. It's just that it's just not a match, right? The low budget for your high quality product or service is a mismatch, right? So the thing is, what's really happening, and I think this is kind of hard to put your finger on sometimes because it's very intangible. What's really happening is that there's something in your business, right, that you are unintentionally communicating that is drawing people with low budgets to you. Right. And so the disconnect comes in is because there's something that your business is communicating, something that you're communicating. Maybe it's something about the way you're doing business or the way you're presenting your business or the way you talk about your business. Not on purpose, but there's something about that's speaking to a potential client with a low budget. And then when they, inquire about doing business with you, the disconnect comes because it's like, there's something about or some things about your business that said that this is the kind of brand that they were looking for, and that they feel like your prices are incongruent. And the reason why I say it doesn't make them a bad person is because it doesn't. That means that there is something that you are doing or saying or operating unconsciously, unintentionally, that is sending signals that draws those types of clients, right? And what you really want to do is you want to do the opposite. You want to directly and indirectly communicate and operate in a way that draws a high-end client. Okay. And so the thing is, a lot of times people think like, oh, if I just put my prices on my website, that'll deter, people who can't afford my products and services. And maybe to some degree it would, but I mean, think about it. How many people have, you put on your website your prices and they still are inquiring about your products and services, and they're looking like, oh, okay, well, I saw your prices, but I was wondering if you blah, 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 right? Or I saw this and I was wondering if you da, 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 right? And so what you really need to do in order to attract those high-end clients, right, and repel clients who've got the expensive taste but tap water budgets, is you need to create a brand that is cohesive with the price point that you want to ask. And a lot of times when I say brand, people think like fonts and logos and colors. I'm talking about everything from the kind of products and services you offer to the way your brand indirectly and directly communicates to potential and current clients, to the way you handle business. There are so many different things that are happening intrinsically in business that are communicating to people whether or not that is the kind of price point or brand they want to do business with. Like, I want you to think about it like this, right? How many times in your lifetime have you walked into a store and you immediately could tell, without ever talking to anyone, looking at a price tag, whatever, whether or not that store was in your budget, right? You might have gone in and been like, I might be spending more here than I had planned on. Or you might have walked in and been like, this feels right on par with what I'm looking for. Or you might have walked in and been like, this is out of my budget, right? Or you might have walked in and been like, oh, this seems a little cheap and this is not what I'm looking for, right? Or man, this seems like a bargain and it seems like it is cheap and that's exactly what I'm looking for, right? So there was something happening with that business, with that brand, without anybody ever saying a word to you, without you ever seeing a price tag. And I'm not just talking about the aesthetics, right? That is a component, but that's not the only thing. Matter of fact, that's like the least of the things, right? But there was something about that store or that place that you were like, oh, I already can kind of guess where it's going to be price wise. And therefore, as the consumer, as the client, as the customer, you self-sorted and said, yep, I am ready to invest this kind of money in whatever store this is or spend this kind of money. Or maybe you politely turned around and walked out and or maybe you perused around because once you realized like this ain't the store for me and you confirmed when you looked at the prices, you were like, you know what? And then you exited stage left, right? So the thing is, in order to draw high-end clients, the solution is simple. You need to create a high-end culinary brand. And a high-end culinary brand is a brand that builds in all those components that easily, like a magnet, draws those high-end clients to you on one end. But just like on a magnet, if you flip it over, it's going to repel the clients whose budget don't fall in line with the price point that you want to charge, right? And so it's not about being exclusionary or being elitist or anything like that, but it's kind of like, if I was creating a daycare center for children with special needs, right? There are things that I'm going to include in my business that's going to speak directly to a parent who has a child with special needs, whereas a parent who has a child that doesn't have special needs, those things aren't going to be beneficial to them, or may not be even on their radar, right? They might not even understand why the things that I'm including in this business are important, right? They may not even understand why I'm saying the things that I'm saying, but a person who is looking for that or who lives in that world or understands that is like, ooh, this is exactly what I've been looking for, right? And so when it comes to creating a high-end culinary brand, it's like you need to know what those things are. You need to know what are all of the indirect forms of communication that are happening. What are all the signals that I send out to clients? What are all the things that high-end clients are looking for? What are the things that clients with lower budgets are looking for so I can avoid those, right? But I want to include the things that a higher end or a client who's willing to spend more money is looking for, right? And, that's one of the reasons why I decided to create the High-End Culinary Brand Intensive. It's because I've spent a lot of time talking about, high-end culinary brands and the businesses, the benefits of creating a high-end culinary brand, but I haven't really ever broke down in a way that says, here's what goes into a high-end culinary brand in one part, and then go in and go here. Let's get into the mindset of a high-end culinary buyer, and then let's map out the blueprint for a high-end culinary brand. And that's what I'm going to be doing in the High-End Culinary Brand Intensive over 3 sections, over 3 days. Day 1, we're really going to get into what is a high-end culinary brand. What is the difference between a standard brand and a high-end culinary brand? What is the formula? Because it's not luck, right? It's not luck. It's not a secret. It is a formula. What is the formula? What are the components that create a high-end culinary brand? What are the touch points and the things that will communicate directly and indirectly that this is a high-end culinary brand? But then it's also like, okay, but then how do I attract that high-end buyer, right? Because if you're watching this video, you were like, how do I find high-end clients? And I really want to talk about where are high-end clients anyway, right? Like, how do you find them? What do you need to do to attract them to your brand? what is that buyer looking for? What are they used to? What are their expectations when that makes them, easily, happily, excitedly, and effortlessly pay premium prices, right? But then it's also like, if I know what the components are for a high-end culinary brand, and I understand now the psychographics of the high-end buyer, then it's like, well, I need a blueprint on the steps that it takes to build a high-end culinary brand. And that's what we'll be doing in the third phase. I think of it like a first course, a second course, and a third course, right? Is that, the first part, like I said, is the high-end culinary brand. The second part is the high-end culinary buyer. And then the third part is the high-end culinary blueprint. And if you're like, yeah, Evelyn, that is what I need, because trying to deal with these clients and the frustration that comes with the people going back and forth, the people wasting your time, the people being tire kickers, the people ghosting you, the people want to negotiate everything, feeling like you have to over explain all of your prices and what you do and how much you spend on help and ingredients, and trying to justify the fact that, there's inflation and the cost of food is up and you buy retail and not wholesale and all this kind of stuff like that. It's like, you don't need to do that, right? That just means that you're talking to the wrong buyer and you're communicating the wrong things. And no amount of explanation is going to convert someone who's just not a good fit for the products and services that you offer. So if you are like, yes, I want to be a part of that intensive because I need to know what are the ingredients to a high-end culinary brand. I need to know what is the mindset and the framework and what it takes to attract that high-end culinary buyer. And I need to know the steps I need to take in order to create a high-end culinary brand. Then I would encourage you to join me in the intensive by going to highendculinarybrand.com. All the details about the intensives are there. A little bit more details about, understand the high-end culinary brand, the buyer, and the blueprint. And I look forward to seeing you in the intensive. So all the details are in the link below this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Peace.